Hi. Maybe you stumbled upon this video because you're now in your research of wanting to go to therapy, of having questions, and maybe you think about this topic for the first time. Maybe you've been searching for a while, but hi, welcome. Here I am going to tell you all the info I had, or the experience I made in my experience in therapy for the past year. For the other half, who is always here, hi, welcome to another video. My name is Flynn. This channel is called Comfort with Flynn, so it just made sense to me to make a video talking about my experience, or making the video I would have liked to have in the past when I first searched and started my search and needed maybe some motivation along the way. And as a disclaimer, this is experience from Germany. I try to put it as general as possible and not like with our insurance system, because the ways will be different in each country. But it all starts maybe at the beginning with the search, or maybe even before that. When did I decide to even go on the search? And I definitely went too late. I ignored my problems for years, because I always thought, if this happens, if I reach this goal, then it will get better, it will get quiet. No, it got worse. So the big catastrophe happened after I ignored too many years and went through too many ifs, and then it was so bad I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't be part of society anymore. I was just needing all my energy to regenerate or to battle these thoughts. Even then, I did not go to therapy. I did everything else except therapy. Going to a different country, turning your life around 180 degrees, different job, different studies, and it helped me. I did exposure therapy by myself, just doing the things I feared. Maybe as a context here as well, my therapy or my topic comes more from an anxiety background. So just so you know, that it might be different for you, whatever feelings you're currently facing. But I think a few things you might still take away from this. Then when I was in a place of strength again, I was still uncertain, why did this big bad thing happen? How can I keep it from happening again? So then I thought, okay, now I feel like I did all the things I could by myself. I did all of that, and now I'm back at maybe, let's say, 70% the way I felt before the thing. But I would like to go for 100 if possible, to feel like the way it is before. Spoiler alert, that doesn't work. But that's, at the end of the video. So then I started my search. And my search took 1-2 years, maybe, and it's unmotivating. It's an unmotivating process. It's totally the opposite of what you might need in that moment. You might need an easy access. It just wasn't in Germany, and maybe for you too, for your country too. Psychologists have to have a certain amount of sessions for like quote unquote. They are not called session 0, but I just call it like that because you can go there, have a session, get a first view, a first impression of, or a first, what the psychologist thinks about you. You get some motivation, some info. You get the thing you need for the insurance, but that's, a German thing maybe. And then, even for this session 0, I couldn't sleep. I was afraid. I was nervous. I sweated. I was dizzy. I just didn't want to tell myself that I am weak or wrong, or, which, spoiler alert, you are freaking not weak or not, broken just because you go to therapy. But I had these feelings, right? I needed to get through that and be like, and my body didn't want to go and was like, no, we are not weak. We can do this. But just doing session 0 already lifted a big part of that stone weight on the shoulders away. You were like, okay, now I was somewhere already. It's not as bad as I thought. The person was totally nice about it. Nobody laughs at you. I mean, I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is the thoughts I had. Nobody laughs at you. You don't have to tell anybody. You can just do it for yourself, you know. You don't have to tell the whole world that that's a thing, which I then later did, but that's part of my job, and I think it's important to talk about this topic. And then after session 0, I think still another year went by before I found my actual therapist. I also was lucky because my therapist just started out to get the qualification for the insurance thingy. So I booked private sessions first, like 3, to get to know the person. And then I waited another half a year for my therapist to get all the qualifications needed. And then I did then my therapy started with insurance paid, backed by insurance, whatever, how you want to call it. So I could actually then afford to go longer than just 3 sessions. And by this time, I only talked about it with like the closest people I had, just because I'm a talker. And I wanted to tell a few people you don't have to, but I needed some motivation along the way from friends to, you know, maybe through the search process. Because what I then did, I could have searched faster and better, but I just wasn't up to it all the time. So I just said, okay, every Friday I'm gonna call or write an email to a therapist. If it's just one, okay. If I'm not feeling up to it, also okay, but I have this time slot on a Friday and I try to do my best. Sometimes it was 5, sometimes 0, you know. But I was not like, oh, I have to do this every day, and, you know, don't try to put the pressure on yourself. Just accept that it might take some time and that it's okay. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's better to be prepared for that than to be disappointed every time somebody says they don't have a space or a slot available for you. Maybe also ask friends if they help you, motivate you. All of these things only worked for me because I did it from a place of strength. My experience, the luxury that I had. If you're in a place of weakness, by all means, try to find faster ways. I highly encourage you, motivate you to do that. And I wish you all the best. Then the session started. What were my expectations? I thought, well, I have this issue that happened in the past, which at this time, the issue was 4 years ago. 2 years of figuring out myself, 2 years of search. Just so you know, it can take time. And I thought, well, this issue, we just work on that. Why it happened, it never happens again. Hooray, I'm happy. So I took a notebook, it was this one. I took this with me in the first sessions. I wrote down questions that I had, about topics that I want to talk about, and I wrote in there important informations the therapist told me. But I think after session 2, I left it at home because it was totally different than I imagined, and I didn't need to write it down. It works different. It's not like school. So I went in there, I had like 3 topics planned, talked about the first one for the whole session, and learned more than I probably could have by talking about all of the 3 things, because in the end they were all kind of connected with each other. And I also didn't need to write things down because the important things, they just stuck with me. The first half of the sessions was basically just looking at the core beliefs that I have. You know, we looked at them. Is this a good one? Are you prepared in there? Okay, this is good. Okay, this a little bit. Let's readjust. And this is the big one. So we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna maybe rip it out, rip the belief out. We have to dissect it and then build it from new. And I am very, very open. I'm not afraid to go into the deepest depths of my body to tell honest things. I think I was more honest to my therapist than to myself. And I just try to say everything that like comes up. I didn't try to push it down, even though it may not fit to the question, the therapist asked me. Like, for example, how does it make you feel? And then you'd be like, there's not a feeling that comes up, but a person. And then like, okay, what does this mean? And then you go from there. And I at least appreciate it a lot that you talking to a professional is just different, and they know what they're doing and which questions to ask. And then I just say the feeling that the question does, or I just say what I feel. Even being surprised myself sometimes what thoughts came out, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's something I never said to myself, but hearing it for myself also already did a thing. And then after the first half of there were days where you do a therapy session, you don't want to do anything else because you feel like ripped open. And that's the reason why I was grateful to do it from a place of strength, because sometimes it took a lot of strength to say these things and to work through it. And then I was like, well, it's not really making me feel great, it's just getting worse somehow a bit. Like, I felt okay, the 70%, then I feel worse, but after half time, it picked up and I noticed shifts in my behavior, shifts in my thoughts, in my daily life, in daily talks, connections, just my thoughts, just the way I think about things, the way it affects me emotionally. And that was where I was getting hope from and was hooked at. I was like, oh my God, it's really changing my thoughts. And for example, I don't want to go too deep into my stuff because this is about you. I never really understood small talk. I took it too personal, too fast. I thought everybody has like a very thought out opinion when they say something in small talk. I just thought it's deep talk. I always wanted to get to deep talk. And so I took everything to heart. And I was hurt a lot of the times by the littlest jokes, like the definition of a thin skin, if you can say it like that. And I pretended that it didn't hurt me. And then I kind of learned what small talk is for. I just didn't know. It is just for participation in the group. It is the lubrication of society. It's not about deep talk, about getting to know the person on a deeper level. It's about fitting in the group, feeling connection, being part of it. And sometimes I do a joke to somebody just to be part of it, get the group a laugh, and not because they attack you and they hate you. Even though if that hurts, it's totally your right to say something. But I just could more lightheartedly say a joke back, or if it's too much, stand up for myself and be like, that's too much, and claim my space better, because I know it's not that deep. You hear this a lot, but it helped me to distance myself from it and to have a thicker skin. And this is like the things that will change. The thoughts about yourself. I learned things about myself I never thought I need to learn or I can learn. I thought, this problem and I'm super, I'm fine. No, this problem is just the symptom of something else. And now I feel like I learned so much about myself in a way I could have never imagined. I went into this a little naive because how could I? I didn't know how it would be. But I feel like it's maybe it sounds weird, but the inside of me is more filled out. I experience myself more, and by knowing what I can do and what I can't do, where I maybe I'm good at, where I'm bad at, I can more easily say no to somebody. Or yes, if somebody asks me something and I know I'm good at this, I have trouble with this, I can be like, no, I don't want to do that, I have really trouble with that. Or, yes, that's a cool thing I want to do. Or I can take these kind of jokes, but I can't take these kind of jokes. So here I stand up for myself, and here I'm just laughing it off. You know, this type of scenario. And then the end of therapy session, where I expected myself to feel super happy, like this new person, I can now face the world. But I felt, my therapy session ended last week, grieving, loss, next to this new filled out feeling and self-esteem or self-image. And I was also saying that in the session, but I was a little bit afraid that this is not a good feeling to have. But our therapist just said, yeah, that's totally normal and totally understandable, because we talked about a lot of things and we ripped a lot of things out, a lot of core beliefs. And that feels like the loss. That can make you feel sad. It's grieving. And for example, like you all maybe know this very well-known core belief that gets lost is that you think in your teenage years or in your kid years that every grown-up has it figured out, and then one day you learn, they don't. And that can make you feel sad because you lose this image or this image of these glorified people. And now they're like, you're like, It depends entirely on the person if they are reflected and smart and open or not. And now then you can take it, apply it to different things, core beliefs that you may lose and that may hurt. But I think it was still important to lose them, to make way for new, stronger, healthier core beliefs. So what I thought, everything was different than I thought it would be, but way better than I thought it would be at the same time. I would take this again over the other thing I imagined, just fixing it and then continuing, but being in this naive way of thinking like, yeah, I just fix myself and then because there's nothing to fix. There's things to learn and to grow and to be a healthier version of yourself. But it's not like it's broken, you fix it again and then you continue. It's more complex than that. And you are not weak, you are not broken, you are not whatever it is that you're currently feeling when you start this journey, go for the search and go for therapy. It will, in my case, it makes you see things you never have seen about yourself, you never thought you would even feel about yourself. It makes you stronger, and in ways you could have never imagined. This is how it went. I wish you all the motivation, luck that you need on this journey. If there's any question that you have that I forgot to answer, I'm not an expert on that obviously, but put it in the comments. I try to answer it if I know the answer, if I can. And as always, we see each other next time.